name is Randall Cook, and first I want to thank God for waking me up to see another day. Truly grateful. An old man told me one time, any time that I can talk about yesterday, it's a good day. And I absolutely have to agree. Never heard it better than that. Also, as equally as important, I want to thank Carmen Jackson for inviting me to share with you guys today and speak on a topic that I am personally passionate about because it's a lifestyle that I live, um, that I'm able to use in my business, in my personal life, in my walk with God. And that topic that I was asked to speak on was speaking life to renew your mind. Um, First, let me say this, you guys. It's absolutely impossible to expel positive things when we are filling ourselves up with negativity. Okay? That doesn't have to be intentional. That can be just through the casual living of life where the world is not a positive place and everything that's pretty much going on in the world system is contradictory, contrary, I should say, to the Word of God. Right? The things that we see on television, the music that that comes across the radio stations, unless you're watching, listening to a gospel station, the things that are coming through on advertisements, social media, post videos, so on and so forth. Which is why it's important that we're counteracting basic life on a daily basis. So behind me, guys, there's a lot of books that I read. Okay, I read a lot of books physically and also listen to a lot of audio um, books. So you have a quick background of who's sharing this information with you. Um, I own a nice size insurance agency. It does quite well. Okay. Um, I also last summer started a real estate investment company. I just finished one of my first properties a few weeks ago. Okay, and I do okay in business. This renewing your mind is not about money or finances. Renewing our mind is going to help with our finances. Okay, it's going to help with our walk with God. It's going to help with our personal relationships with people around us that we are close to and those that we have no personal relationship with. It's such a transferable thing that it applies to every aspect of our life. Okay, so I read a ton of books. One book, it's a great book. Intentional Living from John Maxwell. Okay, John Maxwell was a pastor for many years before he started venturing off into writing and publishing, and now he is considered the renowned world leader on leadership. Okay, and he talks about in his book that every day, in order to succeed, you have to live an intentional life, which means you have to wake up with purpose on your mind. Speak those things that you want to do, write them down, put them on paper, call those things that be not as though they were, as the Word says. Okay? So it's just not a book about success and carnal things, but you know, John is a believer. Okay, I had an opportunity up there in that picture to spend some time with John Maxwell last summer at Ohio Christian University for about a week or so. He looks much older in the picture than he does on his books because he's calling youth back into existence by using young photos on all of the books that he publishes now. He joked that he told me, but I'm pretty sure he was serious. Um, so, you guys, when we renew our mind, there's a couple of things that happen. One, my old pastor told me that you are like a tube of toothpaste, and when pressure is put on somebody, whatever's inside of you is going to come out. And when we haven't renewed our mind and we're stuck in the mindset of the world, when we get in tight situations, when we're pressed, when people anger us, when you get frustrated, whatever you have been allowing to be fed to your soul or your spirit and your mind is going to come out of you. That's why there's cussing Christians, right? That's why people will say, "Oh, well, you don't want to get me angry. because I'll go back to my unsaved days. Well, you shouldn't if your mind is filled with different things that are biblically related to doing the right things that God has called you to do, and not to the things that the world used to have you doing. This is what I tell people when they work in my organization. We're going to spend more time fixing your mind than we're going to talk about how to do your job effectively, okay? Because if your mind is broken, it will never tell your hands the right actions to participate in order to give you positive results in life. When your mind is broken, it will never tell your feet where to go or where you should be in order for you to be receiving the things that God has lined up for you, provided you stay on the straight path where He has things set up for your benefit. But it's always our negative mindset or broken mind or unrenewed mind that has us making detours in life, and we end up missing all the blessings that God had waiting for us. When your mind has not been renewed, your mouth will say things that it should not say. Your mouth will say things that will put you in positions to lose out on what God has for you. When you open your mouth, things of value need to come out. And that cannot happen without a renewed mind. So how do we renew our minds? Okay? We renew our minds by one, reading the Word, hearing the Word, following the Word until the point of the result, because we all are challenged in our walk, because, we're of this world. We live in this world, but not of this world, right? And we are constantly battling our flesh, right? Our mind is in constant battle with what our flesh wants us to do, and we have to not give in, okay? And we strengthen ourselves and we strengthen our minds by always constantly adding positivity to the negative that we're being bombarded with on a constant basis from everything that is around us, okay? So you guys get 8 minutes and 47 seconds because I've done a couple of trial runs and I have too much stuff on my phone. So you guys got another minute and a half, so I want to make it worth it for you, okay? What I want you to start doing, it's a practice that I did that is biblically based, but it was given to me on a carnal standpoint from this book called The Secret, okay? Starts getting into the universe and, everything that they're saying, it comes from the Bible, but, for make it likable by all people, they call everything the universe, right? So I want you to take a piece of paper, like this piece of paper, and I want you to write down 10 things that you are so happy and grateful for that you don't have them. I literally did this 7 years ago. I wrote down, number 1, quick advancement. Number 2, 6-figure savings within 3 years. Number 3, long and prosperous career. 4, $4,000 of production this weekend. So on and so forth. A blessed marriage, a blessed relationship with God. Guys, you see this dirty yellow tape on the back? This is real life old. I hung this on my door. And every day that I left my house to go to work or to get up, I spoke those things and called those things that be not as though they were. And I meditated on them day and night, just like you're supposed to do with the Word. And just about everything on my list has actually, come true now. And some of them took a little bit longer than I wanted them to, but it never stopped me from following the principles of the Word to help renew my mind. And I needed to constantly, every day, talk about the things that I wanted. Talk about what I wanted with God, from God, for the people in my life that needed God who didn't have Him. And He's been so faithful, and He's been so just. Guys, principles never change, which is why you have to be a principle-driven person. There's no bending them. There's no breaking principles. They work just like laws, just like the law of gravity, just like the law of flight. In order to fly, you need thrust and lift. If you don't have thrust and lift, you can have all the thrust in the world. That just means you're going to crash really, really hard when you come to that end. You need lift. Everything that goes up must come down. There's one way to break gravity, right? Is if you have to have enough thrust to break outside of the gravitational pull, then you could just keep going on. So even though principles don't change, there's certain aspects of what we do that can help influence certain principles we want to live by and walk by in order to renew our mind and change the circumstances of the life that we live in. Let me tell you this, and I hope you take this as seriously as I did when I began to live my life in a different manner, when my mindset changed. It happened when I was probably about 22 years old or so. And I worked in construction back in the days. I made my way up to being a project engineer, but I was in the field, metal stud framer. And I used to get kicked off a lot of jobs because, construction is a pretty rough industry, rough leg guys and stuff like that. And, they would always talk crazy to me. And that's just how it is, cussing and, blah, 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 I told you to do this, or come on, you're not fast enough. And I always would stand up for myself because what they were doing or saying wasn't right. And I'm a grown man. I have a beard, right? I'm a grown man. I'm 21 years old. I'm 22 years old. You can't talk to me that way. But you know what happened? Is I was always the one who got laid off or kicked off the project. They still got paid on Friday. And I was wondering where my next check was going to come from, or how long until I can get on the next project on a different job site. At a certain point in time, I started to focus more on the word and how to live my life under a different mindset. Not the one that the world had taught me is to stand up for yourself, be a man. Or, don't let anybody bully you, don't let anybody push you around. You're a strong woman, so on and so forth. Stand up for your women's rights. It's not about women's rights. It's about living a Christian life. It's about living the right life. It's not about this world. We got to get that mindset out of our head that you can't talk. So I stopped standing up for myself in certain circumstances because what became important was that I paid my rent on the first. What became important in my mindset is that I keep saving and putting away for my future and having money in my bank account to take care of my financial obligations. Didn't matter who said what, how they said it. You have to do what you have to do until you're in a position to be able to do the things you want to do. That was a mindset that I had adopted, which now left me not getting fired, left me not getting kicked off jobs because I had to poke my chest up and, yeah, I stood up for myself, man. They can't talk crazy to me like that. But at the end of the day, here's what you have to understand. You have to live with the results. Does not matter who's right, who's wrong, who stabbed you in the back, who chopped your legs from underneath you, or all the things that our old and broken mindset would tell us we're not supposed to let happen. Because we got to stick up for ourselves. You're the one without a job. You're the one in a broken marriage. You're the one in the bad abusive relationship. You're the one who's being led down the wrong path that's going to destroy your life. And it doesn't matter if your mom abused you, dad abused you, if your brothers abused you, if nobody took care of you, if you came up in a broken household. I feel for you. I pray that God heals your heart and that He helps to renew your mind. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be the old guy in the bar talking about how I was wronged in life. And my mindset made me stick up for myself or do other things, but I'm the one who's living a broken life. You don't want to be the old lady with 10 cats talking about how everybody, took advantage of you and nobody helped you in life and you were all on your own. At the end of the day, you're still the old lady with 10 cats and you don't have anything to show in your life. And all the people's lives who could have been touched or impacted have not been, because we allowed ourselves to be taken over by a broken mindset of becoming the victim. So, long story short, I began to succeed. I began to move up. I began to get promoted. And then that point came into play that I talked about earlier. You do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. Now I was a senior project engineer. I was in the same position as the people who were dogging me out before, not being fast enough, which I always had great work ethic, but whatever they wanted to say. Well, look, man, I don't have to do what you tell me to do anymore. We have the same job title, right? And now I'm not being influenced by somebody else's negativity, but I'm in a position to be a better leader to other people who may be coming along and making sure that I never put them in the position to where if their mindset is broken, that they make poor choices in how they respond, that they end up losing out in their families in a lesser situation because they stood up for themselves as a man or didn't let somebody take advantage of them as a woman or so on. Does that make sense, you guys? So that transferred along into my walk with God, um, to where at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my actions, and you are too. Broken mindset means everything else is broken in life. I personally now don't take information from people if I can't verify their character. Because if their character is broken, I don't care if it's a good business deal, looks good financially on paper. I don't care if they're a really, really, really nice guy, right? Ladies, when you're dating, oh, he's a really, really nice guy. You better check his record. You better make sure he don't got 3 or 4 babies out there, right? Better make sure he has a good job, he has good credit, right? Because everything else, if you're broken up here, it's going to translate into every other aspect of your life. Facts, you guys. Facts. 100%.